Howdy, folks. I'm Sim Brian.
I'm Cartoon Amber.
And here's some simulated Reddit. No, it's real Reddit.
As far as we know.
As far as we know.
Maybe AIs are writing all the Reddit now.
Yeah, we can pretend to be one of the AI readers now and just kind of read in a monotone voice. They're getting very good. Like, you can't even tell the AI voices from human voices anymore. How do you even know that I'm not an AI voice? I look like an AI.
Beep, beep, boop, beep, beep.
Alright, folks, our first letter is titled, Am I a jerk for calling my fiancé selfish for wanting to announce her pregnancy at her cousin's wedding? No, you're not. Throwaway account. My fiancé is 29, and I'm a 31-year-old male. And I just found out that we're pregnant. My fiancé mentioned that she wanted to wait to announce it at her cousin's wedding, which will be taking place on Sunday. Her cousin and her husband have been struggling with getting pregnant, even with IVF and tons of others. Recently, they just got some news that their insurance had stopped funding their IVF, and not to mention the heartbreak of a recent miscarriage on Mother's Day. They almost understandably held off the wedding. So when my fiancé brought this up to me, I told her that it's not a good idea at all. This just seemed so wrong, especially it being at their wedding. I asked if she was going to at least ask her cousin for permission, and she said no, because she wanted it to be a surprise for everyone. I told her that it's not the time or place for that, and it would be taking the spotlight off of the couple. In their family, there hasn't been a baby in 3 years, so we would be the first in that time. Fiancé feels that it's perfect time just because it's such a joy, and it's not like she can keep it away forever. And their problem shouldn't be keeping her from telling something so positive. So it's on them if they turn it negative. I told her that that's not the point. She knows that they've been through a lot, and she's being selfish if she actually goes through with it. She cried and claimed that I wasn't being supportive. And that I shouldn't be calling my pregnant fiancé selfish. She doesn't want me to come with her to the wedding anymore, feeling as I would kill the mood. She hasn't been talking to me either. Edit. So about my fiancé and her cousin's relationship, my fiancé always saw competition in her cousin because her cousin would be better at some things than her, grades, dancing, cosmetics, etc. Since they were kids, and she hates that. Last year, they had an argument about it because fiancé felt that her cousin bragged too much, whereas my fiancé also mentioned that there was this one thing that her cousin wasn't good at, but never said what it was. So in shorter terms, the relationship is between good and bad, but her cousin wanted to invite her to the wedding. So I'm guessing that she wanted to rekindle that relationship. Alright folks, what do you think? Jerk or not the jerk?
Not the jerk. What your fiance is doing is beyond cruel. And you do not announce your pregnancy at someone else's wedding without explicit permission from the bride and groom. It's kind of tacky to ask in the first place, but there are rare occasions where the bride and groom actually want it. And that's chill. Yeah. You especially do not announce it in front of people who are struggling with fertility issues themselves. Your fiance is very clearly doing this out of some weird sort of competition, show-offy thing. She wants to co-opt her cousin's day to be like, look at me, I am going to have a baby, and so now I'm the star. And that is really gross. And I would seriously rethink if you really want to marry this woman, because that is not good behavior. And also, absolutely do give the cousin a heads up. Do not let her go and not tell anyone beforehand, because the cousin does not need this.
Yeah, that really puts him into a really tricky spot, because if he tells the cousin, then that kind of ruins the pregnancy announcement. But on the other hand, if they don't come forward with the pregnancy announcement before the wedding, then this could really ruin the wedding, and she could be a really sad individual at the wedding, and OP's fiancé is really just not being a good person here. She, like you said, is doing this out of the motivation to one-up her cousin. And this is like kicking someone while they're on the ground here, right?
Who does that? this isn't healthy competition. This is, you just suffered a grave loss a couple weekends ago. Well, here, I'm going to rub it in your face.
Yeah. So, OP, I think you are not being selfish. I think that you are doing absolutely the right thing. And the reason why she doesn't want you at the wedding is so that you don't stop her from making the announcement.
Mm-hmm.
This has nothing to do with you killing the buzz and everything with her planning on actually going ahead with this announcement. So
honestly, like, I'm not saying this is necessarily the way to go, but like, if I were in your shoes, I would probably like make an announcement beforehand. Like, I know couples want to do it together, but just so she cannot hurt her cousin so deeply, like...
Yeah, it's a tricky situation. I don't know if it's right to make the announcement beforehand or not, but certainly making the announcement during the wedding is not the way to go. Take care and good luck. All right, folks, our next letter is titled, Am I the jerk for insisting that my daughter see her creepy tutor? I'm a single father of a wonderful 16-year-old daughter. She has been struggling with her math grades, so I decided to hire a private tutor to help her. The man I hired, a 62-year-old male, is a retired math teacher with an impeccable professional record and a reputation for improving student grades. She's been attending tutoring sessions with him for about 2 months, and there's no doubt that her math skills have improved. However, recently, she started expressing her discomfort about the tutor, describing his behavior as creepy. When I asked her to elaborate on why she finds him creepy, she described instances where he stands too close to her, makes excessive and unnecessary physical contact, like touching her shoulder or her hand while explaining problems, and constantly comments on her appearance, saying that she's grown up beautifully, and frequently mentions how much she reminds him of his daughter at her age. I've never observed this behavior directly, as I usually leave them two alone in sessions. She's insistent that it makes her uncomfortable, even though she admits that he's not done anything overly inappropriate or unprofessional, which I would disagree with already. I told her that he's an older man and perhaps comes from a generation with different norms about personal space and compliments, and that she should try to focus on the academic help that he's providing. She's been visibly upset about me dismissing her feelings, but I'm genuinely torn between what I think is right for her academic future and the discomfort that she's expressed. She can be overly sensitive and tends to exaggerate situations, so part of me thinks that she might be overreacting or trying to find an excuse to avoid math, which she's never been fond of. So am I the jerk for insisting that she continues with her tutor despite her expressing discomfort with his behavior? All right, folks, what do you think? Jerk or not the jerk?
You are absolutely the jerk, OP. Your daughter has come to you saying that she is uncomfortable, and you are like, your boundaries, like, they don't matter because he's old. Like, it doesn't matter what generation he's from. If your daughter feels like her boundaries are being crossed, she needs to be able to say no. She needs to be able to get out of that situation. Like, you should not be forcing her and just being like, oh, just accept people violating your boundaries because they're from a different generation. That sends a really terrible message that her body is not hers and she just has to put up with people inappropriately touching her because they're from a different generation.
You know, I would be curious if OP could take a couple of different avenues here. One, if he thinks that this is just a simple misunderstanding between the two of them, he can talk to the math teacher and tell them that what he's doing is crossing some boundaries and that his daughter's uncomfortable. And if the behavior continues, then he can get her to, fire him and say, look, this isn't working. You're no longer welcome here. Or two, he can sit in on the sessions and see if the math teacher actually does these things. And if he doesn't do them when OP's around, then he knows what he's doing is wrong, right?
I mean, I have a different approach to this. I say that, math tutors are not that hard to come by. I say just dismiss this tutor and find a different tutor who his daughter feels more comfortable with.
I mean, I certainly think that this is indicative that there could be something wrong here, and I just don't know, right? And certainly, like, the way that OP is describing it here, those could be definite really red flags, and I don't want the daughter being harassed like this. I think that would be a terrible thing. But also, if he thinks that he's just being nice and being like, oh, you look like my daughter, but some of the comments there are just actually really kind of gross. Like, oh, you're growing up nicely. I mean, who says that, right?
Right, like...
in this day and age.
Yeah, well, and, like, even if he is reminded of her as his daughter, she's not his daughter, and he's crossing boundaries. And certainly I think there needs to be some kind of conversation between the dad and him around this. Not the daughter, it's not her. You know, she's a child. But I also think if she's not comfortable with this, instead of, like, you don't have to give him another chance. I'm sure he'll have other clients who he can work with. But, like, if the daughter's uncomfortable, the important thing is making sure she is comfortable and not forcing her to stay in a situation that is...
Yeah, well, I think actually where I was coming from is that OP should talk to his daughter and find out what she wants out of this situation. And if she wants to continue with this tutor, if he stops this behavior, then that's one thing. If she's not interested in continuing these sessions at all, even after OP talks to him, then he should find her a new tutor. So that's kind of my thoughts there. I think that she should be able to choose whether or not she wants to continue with this person. So I'm not saying that he should outright dismiss his daughter and then talk to the tutor and whatnot. So I just want to kind of clarify that. I think the daughters should be brought into that loop. Take care and good luck. All right, folks, our next letter is titled, Am I a Jerk Because I Threatened to Send My Stepmother to Jail? As some background information, my parents have been divorced for over 10 years, and me, a 21-year-old male, and my siblings, a 24-year-old female and a 19-year-old male, met my father's new girlfriend about 4 years ago. Our not yet stepmother always had certain dislikes towards us, and we didn't like her either. She always subtly implied that she doesn't like us. We have often tried to tell this to our father, but he is the quiet type, and he never gets involved and believes that we should feel educated by her. I moved out 1 year ago. Now, I have learned that my father and his girlfriend are planning on getting married, her idea. Even though our family has never been financially well off, my stepmother wants to have a big celebration. Now here's the problem. She is demanding financial support from all of us children for the celebration because we are family too. My sister, a 24-year-old, is kind-hearted and even offered to help voluntarily, but my brother and I were super annoyed. When I refused to give her a single buck and suggested that she should just make the celebration smaller, she flipped out, and we had a heated argument. After that, we didn't have any contact for a few days until I suddenly received a notification that a certain amount of money was missing from my bank account. It turns out that my stepmother had her hands in our account. Since I had a good relationship with my father, he had access to one of my accounts, which money she simply took. It wasn't a significant amount, but when she refused to return the money, I threatened to report her to the police for theft. All the relatives think that I just want to prevent the wedding, and they say, don't make such a fuss, family is more important than money, blah blah.
Then they can give her that money.
Yeah, why don't they give them that money? But I'm angry and want to see if she returns it, or if I actually should go through with it. Am I the jerk? All right, folks, what do you think? Jerk or not the jerk?
Not the jerk. She stole your money. Like, you are not obligated to pay for your dad and stepmom's wedding. That's their choice to get married. That's their choice to have an elaborate budget. And any family member who's like, oh, well, family is more important than money, let's see them whipping out their wallets and giving them all the money they want.
Yeah, I think this is a matter of one of those situations where it's always the people who are looking outwards in are easily able to like say, oh, well, you should do this or you should do that. And when they don't have to make any kind of sacrifice themselves. And OP, this is your money and you trusted your dad with that account. So first step I would take is talk to your dad and tell him that you're closing out that joint account, that he isn't going to have access to it anymore, and that you're withdrawing all funds from it because you shouldn't be having your money stolen. Especially now that he's getting married to this individual who has shown that she's willing to just take money out of that account. Then I would, of course, set up a new account where you only have access to that money and don't give anyone else access to that money at that point in time. And then, depending on the amount of money that she has taken from you, you can always take her to small claims court. I don't know if this necessarily has to go all the way to making a police report or whatnot, but I do think that small claims courts might handle something like this, but I think that you can also potentially handle this with a police report as well. It might be good to get that documented. So I doubt seriously they're going to throw her in the slammer for this, depending on how much money she's taken, right? This could be grand theft. I mean, if it was like $2,000 or something like that. So, I don't know. But I don't think OP's in the wrong here.
Well, and that's the thing, is like, at the end of the day, she chose to take money that's not hers. She does not need to have a elaborate wedding. Like, you shouldn't steal people's money anyway. It's a wedding. It's a party at the end of the day. Like, you don't get to, like, demand your family members finance your extravagant wedding and then steal their money to do that.
Yeah, exactly. So anyhow, take care and good luck. All right, folks, it is tea time. Grab your beverages of choice. I have some sim tea, and Amber's got a sim joke.
What did the Dalmatian say after lunch?
Well, I'll tell you what the Dalmatian said after lunch, because I know a Dalmatian, and this Dalmatian speaks on command. The Dalmatian said, bark, after lunch.
That hit the spot.
Now, that must be a different Dalmatian than the one I know, because the one I know is a dog that does not have a voice. So, that's a little weird. Editing Brian here. I forgot to say what tea I have. I have licorice spice. As you can see, I'm now no longer a robot. Cartoon.
Beep, beep, boop.
All right, folks, that's all the time we have for today. Thank you so much for watching. Happy Friday, Junior.
Happy Friday, Junior.
Thank you to Amber for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you also for being a cartoon, a creepy, creepy cartoon with me. I mean, we look like The Sims here. It's actually a little disconcerting here, so hopefully it wasn't too disconcerting for you. Amber, we need some kind of moral... Oh, my. Amber, we need some kind of moral guidance, and please say it like what a sim might say.
I didn't play The Sims.
Oh, well, I mean, I guess that's your problem. Say it like it is one of the inspirational posters, but they're like bad inspirational quotes.
So you want an anti-moral today, is that what you're saying?
I want an anti-inspirational quote moral.
Have the wedding of your dreams. Steal. That's your anti-moral for the day.
I love it. Thanks so much for watching, and we will see you all tomorrow.
Bye.